lectures. And before I get started, I just want to take a moment to thank all of my supporters and everyone for supporting my YouTube channel. You know, my channel truly would not be where it's at today without all of my supporters. And, you know, I'm the type of content creator, I'm always revamping my strategic business plan in terms of the direction that I want to continue to take my channel. And one of the exciting things that I'm doing on my channel as a content creator, especially on these live stream lectures, it's mainly going to be, my lectures is always going to be centered around providing thought-provoking, educational, inspiring, motivational, useful topics to the world. I do various other things in terms of shorts and film in nature, but my lectures will be centered around that thought-provoking educational piece. With that being said, let's get on down to today's lecture, which is how to go about filing your EIN number, your employer identification number. You know, if the audience is aware, you know, September this year made 3 full years I've been in full retirement, but you know, the last 26 years of my working history, I simultaneously, you know, made money under my company, utilizing my credentials, simultaneously being in the workforce, which meaning under my company, I've always knew the power of filing or having an LLC and an EIN number. I recently relocated to the state of Georgia about 5-6 months ago. And prior to that, I lived in North Carolina for over 17 years. And so to make a long story short, I knew once I got in a different state, one of the things I had to do was, number one, I filed my LLC in the state of Georgia. And I also did my EIN number, my employer identification number for my company since I've been in Georgia. So I'm just literally gonna share with the listener in terms of that process. One of the things, once you file your EIN number, at the very end, you will receive a powerful letter from the Internal Revenue Service, where in that letter, it's going to show where they have generated your EIN number for your company. So I've already done that, got my letter, but I'm going to just go over the hard copy of the application for an employer identification number. And it's useful to do this EIN at the end after you have filed, for me, after you have filed your LLC. So the application for your employer identification number, and I'm literally just presenting this information straight from the source. I still got my hard copy, even though I did it electronically, but I just also love hard copies of my information. With the EIN number, it's going to ask for the legal name of the entity or the individual for whom the EIN is being requested. So for that part, I put my name because I am requesting an EIN number for my company, Paris and Associates Resource Center. Another part of this application is going to ask section 2. Number 2, trade name of the business, if different from the name on line 1. So that was the same, so I didn't have to put anything for that. Then it's also going to ask the name of the executor, administrator, or the trustee, care of name. My name went there. There's an area on this application where you have to put the full mailing address of your business. You know, my home address and my business address is interchangeable. Or even though I'm under my company, I have an office space also in my home, so I put my entire address there. The full address, city, state, zip code, county. It's going to ask for the county that your business is going to be in, and it's going to have here. Then it's asking for the name of the responsible party. So I put my name there. There's an area on here where it's asking for a social security number or ITIN number or EIN number. So I went ahead and put my social security number down on this application. Because remember, I'm requesting for the Internal Revenue Service to generate an EIN number under my company. Then it asks, is this application for a limited liability company? I check yes. And that's why I say it's always better to file your LLC and get that LLC first before you do your EIN. And then it asks, if you answer yes to that, enter the number of LLC members. And for me, I put 1 because I'm a sole proprietor. On here is also asking, was the LLC organized in the United States? I'm gonna check yes for that. Number 9 on this application is it's various boxes, but it's asking to check only one box in terms of the type of LLC you're filing for. So you're gonna check the applicable box for that. And then it's asking if a corporation named a state or a foreign country, and I put the state of Georgia. And then there's an area on here where it's asking you the reason you are applying for your LLC. There's various options. I check for banking purposes, then specific purposes for banking purposes. So you check the applicable box for your situation. And there's an area on here where it asks the date the business started or acquired. And since I had recently relocated to Georgia, I put the date that my business started in Georgia, which was March 30th, 2026. Because like I said, prior to me moving to Georgia, my company, I lived in the state of North Carolina for 17 years. So new in Georgia. I had to make sure I filed in Georgia. On here, it's going to ask the closing month of the accounting year, and you got to be specific when you do that. And I put 12, my closing month of my accounting year for my company. I put 12 consecutive months ending December the 31st, 2026. When you're doing your LLC on that particular question, you got to be very specific in answering that question in relation to your closing month of the accounting year. There's a question on here where it asks the highest number of employees expected in the next 12 months. And I put 0 because I'm not hiring anybody. I'm a sole proprietor. When you do filling out this EIN application, you have to answer these questions specifically applicable to your company. On here, it also asks the first date wages or annuities were paid. I put NA for that because that's non-applicable. There's a question on here. You check the applicable box, whereas check one box that best describes the principal activity of your business. In that particular area, I check other, and then I specified my specific activity of my business is I provide the substance abuse clinical evaluations as a licensed clinical addiction expert for these truck drivers who get referred to me when they violate those drug screens, when they're in violation of the alcohol and drug regulations with their company. So I do that substance abuse clinical evaluation. That's how I make money under my clinical credential. That's the primary service under my LLC. I do other things, but my primary, because it's asking specifically your principal line of service or merchandise. You know, I've been a licensed clinical expert for 26 plus years prior to retiring. I've always made money under my company utilizing my professional credential. So that's my primary service. Even though I make money as an author, you know, get royalty checks from my publishing company for my book, Awake for Financial Freedom. You know, I wrote my book under my company, but my primary service is that substance abuse clinical evaluation. On here, on this application, it asks, has the applicant or entity shown on line 1, which is me, ever applied for EIN number in the past? And I put yes, because my company had an EIN number when I lived in the state of North Carolina. I used to live in Georgia before, so I put all those prior EIN numbers down on this application. So and that's very important. And I'm the type of person, I keep everything. So when I had my EIN number, even when I had my EIN number when I lived in Georgia well over 18, 19 years ago, I still had my paperwork reflecting my prior EIN number when I lived in Georgia a long time ago under my company. So I put that information on here. Is the area on here where it asks complete this section only if you want to authorize the named individual to receive the entity's EIN information. So I put nothing for that because that was non-applicable. Then at the very bottom, it's going to ask for your signature and your title. You have to print, you got to sign, and then you put the date on it. So once you do all of that, you literally, and like I said, I did this online, but I just wanted a hard copy. Then you electronically submit your application for employer identification number directly to Department of Treasury, Internal Revenue Service. Once they receive that electronic submission, and it's a really quick turnaround, once they receive that electronic submission for your EIN number, like almost in a matter of minutes, the Internal Revenue Service will generate your company EIN number, and they will send you an email with your information on it, your name, your address, and with your assigned EIN number, employer identification number for your company. When you file your business taxes, your CPA is going to need to see this so they can be able to appropriately file for your business taxes. Whatever money I generate under my company, that money falls under the category of my company EIN number versus my Social Security number. And there's so many other powerful reasons why you need an EIN number, or when you can use an EIN number. You know, this EIN number, employer identification number, is your permanent number and can be used immediately for most of your business needs, including opening a business bank account, applying for a business license. You're going to need your EIN number in certain states, or you're going to need that EIN number to apply for a business license. And most importantly, you're going to need your EIN number for filing your tax return when you file your business taxes. And those are powerful enough reasons right there in terms of when to use your employer identification number. And like I said, this is something I knew that I had to do once I retired from state government, retired from the state of North Carolina, and relocated again to the state of Georgia. I knew I would have to get all this done. I filed my LLC first, and I went in under the Internal Revenue Service and filed my EIN number, my employer identification number for my company, Paris and Associates Resource Center, just 26 years strong. So this is a simplified version. And like I said, you know, you really do need that EIN number to open up your business bank account. You need the EIN number when you're applying for a business license. And you definitely, your certified public accountant is going to need that EIN number when you file your business taxes. So if you have any questions, put it in the comments. And that's all I have. Simplify, simple fidelis, and I'm going to leave any care of your own conscience. Have a great day.